the world you've been taught has been kept from you. And two, one way or another, you would like to prove this out. So how is this possible? The authority in question, who created what you call the globe, is guarding all the gates. They protect the sky, the outer edge, and most importantly, the education system that shows us at an early age what they want us to see.
Spoken like a man with paranoid delusions. The only thing they teach you in school, dude, is what's demonstrably true and what you need to know in order to grow into a productive member of our society.
Nobody listening to this has their own spaceship or advanced rocket program. Nobody actually owns a long-distance icebreaker. And while some of you may have a private plane,
Not that you actually need any of those things. 5 minutes on Google is all you need to know that this guy's full of shit. And you also need to stop being paranoid, because the evidence of the spherical Earth model is out there. 5 minutes on Google, all you need.
I wouldn't recommend testing a military barrier that technically doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. You've made this up on the spot. Why you pick military barrier, I don't know. How you know this military barrier is real, you don't. You made that up.
But then again, you have to remember that this is not the story of David and Goliath.
Although it is just as full of shit.
The hidden world was never going to be sustainable forever. As a civilization evolves, the tools the authority uses as a method of control become more vulnerable. I've learned many things about systems over the years, and one thing that I find most interesting is as layers of strength increase, the higher the chance that they can be used to your advantage. But maybe I'm talking in riddles.
No, you're talking shit.
I should be boiling it down to what can be done by showing you what's being hidden, what's important, and how it can be spread to others without looking like a crazy person.
Too little too late, friend, but do go on.
To be clear, and I can't stress this enough, do not start conversations with the word flat earth.
Way ahead of you. I usually start my conversations with hi, or excuse me, or how you doing, good morning, good afternoon, that sort of stuff. I don't think I know anybody who starts their conversations with flat earth.
Think of it like Fight Club. The first rule of Flat Club is that you do not talk about Flat Club. Before you started waking up and watching all these things, you were like me. You laughed and mocked everything that was flat earth. You may have learned faster than others, but the knee-jerk reaction by 99% of the people was created the day they sat down in a classroom and stared at the globe. Look at the videos. Not just mine, but others who are putting forward some great arguments.
Great arguments? I suppose if they were arguing for their ignorance on the world around them, then yeah, their arguments are great.
And ask the questions that people can relate to. I'm going to introduce 3 very important questions that you can use, each with a statement that precedes it, and each statement is a motivation for a different group of people. If you don't fall into one of these 3 groups, then I guarantee you know people that do. The first statement is this: you are being hidden.
So much for not trying to sound crazy.
What do I mean by that? Well, this goes back to Clue 7 and Clue 9, which talk about the flights in the Southern Hemisphere. If you are flying a plane over the Southern Hemisphere, your flight is not being tracked.
Well, that's a barefaced lie. Yes, it is.
How can this be used to find out the truth? It's simple, it's quick, and it costs no money.
5 minutes on Google, and you will find out that they are tracked. In fact, if you go to sites like Flight Radar 24, you can watch these flights happen. They'll show you a map, and the flights will be represented by little yellow aeroplanes.
No matter what country you live in, send a quick note to your local, state, or federal representative and ask them this question: why are citizens of our country flying over oceans without the safety net of the GPS system, and remind them that GPS stands for global, not partial.
Although planes do have GPS on board, that's between the pilot and the GPS satellite. The ATC doesn't get to see the GPS information. That's just between the pilot and the satellite. It doesn't go anywhere else.
Without GPS, anything could happen to your plane and no one knows where you are. And while you're at it, remind them that the GPS system was built by the United States Department of Defense, who never does anything small. The system that is in effect now has what appears to be huge, deliberate gaps in the southern hemisphere only.
The world's air traffic control network is still almost entirely radar based. That's how flights are tracked by ATC. Radar or transponders. Transponders being on board the planes that propagate flight information to a receiver on the ground. And if it's set to squawk alt, it will pinch the altitude and heading information from the GPS and propagate that to the receiver on the ground as well. But these receivers are on the ground. If you look at the southern hemisphere being majority water, where would you, of course there's going to be blind spots. Now, of course, you have an issue with these blind spots. So where would you like us to erect another ground base in the middle of an ocean? You really think that's going to work out?
Do not mention flat Earth. Just voice your concern about the safety of you, your loved ones, and your fellow citizens. Will they get back to you? Possibly. Will they give you a satisfactory answer? Not a chance. Because they will only have what the military gives them.
Because the source of their information is the military, that means their information is automatically completely false and unreliable.
What this will do, however, is create a unique buzz in certain circles that may prove to be useful later. The more politicians or high-ranking officials you contact, the greater the noise. The motivation here, as you can tell, is general public concern. The second statement is this: wealth is being hidden.
Yeah, I'm just going to skip this bit because nothing he says here has anything to do with the topic. It doesn't prove a flat earth or a globe earth. It doesn't say anything about the topic. So I'm just going to skip over it. I'm not even sure why he brought it up.
And finally, to preface the third statement, I need to thank all the people who have sent me stacks and stacks of biblical scripture.
Because that helps?
Asking me to stop dancing around the title of the flat model and call the structure what it really is. And you know, they have a point. I have put myself at a distance because I want to reach people who are outside of religious faith and even outside of general conspiracies. But for all those spiritual groups who have contacted me, I can now, however, say with conviction that this third statement is this: they are hiding God. Despite what labels I put on the flat model structure, the oldest names are from the oldest texts, one of those being called the firmament.
You don't actually think there's a giant glass dome sitting on top of our little planet, do you?
If the firmament was indeed discovered in 1956 and it was deliberately hidden, then the ruling authority not only hid the structure, but evidence of the builders. And by builders, I mean creators, and by that, I mean what people define as God.
The firmament was never discovered. And if it was, they wouldn't hide it. They would tell the whole world, I'm the one who discovered the firmament. That's Nobel Prize shit, dude. What on earth do they have to gain in hiding that?
Hiding God could be considered one of the worst ideas of all time.
I absolutely agree. Why waste time and resources trying to hide something that does a perfectly good job hiding itself?
And if you are a person of great or small faith, You have a vested interest in any evidence that would solidify and vindicate your years of dedicated service. If a structure was found that had, for all intents and purposes, the handprint of God on it, then the ruling authority has no right to keep it from you.
I don't think this guy understands that in this day and age, it's really, really hard to hide stuff, especially stuff like that. If it was discovered, we'd know about it. It was never discovered. They're not keeping anything from us. You're just paranoid and desperate. Desperate because you believe this nonsense and you need to come up with a reason as to why the evidence for it can't be presented, and you've decided to dive into things like conspiracies and, oh, they're hiding it, and, oh, the government did it. It's crazy.
There are billions of people on this world who have personally dealt with the concept of God and would like to know for sure if these beliefs are well placed. Or, in short, you want to know the meaning of life.
What? Well, well, because it's humans that imbue meaning onto things, I guess I could imbue my own meaning onto life, or my life at least. I don't see why a God is necessary for there to be a meaning of life.
It's out there, and it's been hidden from you. Your motivation is clear. Go to your church leaders, your congregation,
The last people I'd recommend you go and see.
and tell them science probably found evidence of God in 1956 and decided to keep it a secret.
You know, you guys have been pushing that idea for like ages, right? You've all been talking about how, oh, science and evidence of God, they just, they just don't want to admit it. Whenever we ask you what that evidence is, it's very, very clear that you have no idea what you're talking about. It's not even, even if it is evidence, it's not even evidence of a God, or at least it doesn't lead to a God. You're trying to, see, it's not a case of you guys following the evidence, it's more a case of you guys leading the evidence. So, yeah, this trick you've come up with is not a new one. It's actually a really old one, and it's fallen flat on its face time and time again. And you're asking us to try it again. You know what the definition of insanity is, don't you?
If you know people of religious power, send this up the ladder. Get the word out and see what comes back. Between these three statements,
And this is where he talks about what a great idea it is and how it's going to work and how he's sort of a hero for thinking this up, and it's his video that might cause this to all work out in his favour, yada yada yada, and bullshit like that, and I don't want to go through it. I'm pretty much done with this video, so yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you watch some more of my stuff, because I'm trying here. Please leave comments down below if I've said something wrong. I would love it if you corrected me. Oh, shut up, dogs. And I'll talk to you guys later, I suppose. Take it easy.